I got word that an Oklahoma farmer had found a large sinker cypress that had been probably cut down 100 years prior. He found it in a slough in the back of his property while cleaning up with the dozer. With the help of some local logging equipment, he was able to drag it up on dry land where it sat for a few years. What caught my interest in the first place was they told me how large this tree was, so we went prepared to mill it on site. When we got there, we realized that it was two trees that had grown together over the years and had formed one large trunk. After working with the sawmill all day long, we were able to get the weight down enough to where we could load the slabs as well as the remainder of the log. For the most part, everything went okay. We had a little hiccup on the way home, though.
All right, next slab up is for the Evangel house, so here it goes.
You could tell from the moisture in the sawdust that this tree was still very saturated. This caused us to leave it in the kiln for a very long time. I made a small box with heat lamps and fans to try to dry it out for the next 6 months.
Well, I'm super excited. We're at this point right now. We are finally getting our moisture levels down to where we can start working with the wood. We're going to start with our first initial pours of epoxy. We have it on the back side. This is the back side right now. We're going to do a little priming and masking off to where when we flip it over and do the larger pours from the top, we don't get a bunch of leak through from the top. It's got a little bit of cupping and a little bit of checking to deal with, and not a big deal. We're going to get started on it. Looking forward to it.
This slab is going to be a conference room table. The client wanted a piece that represented a tree, so we want to keep it as natural as possible, but yet still have a functional work surface. So the idea here is that I would remove all of the trash wood that wants to splinter off or that is too soft and backfill it with epoxy. Make the tops as smooth as possible, but leave some of the natural cupping and curve in the bottom half of the tree in hopes to give it a more natural log feel. When backfilling large gaps in wood, I tend to lean towards the more matted, darker colors simply because I feel like there's nothing I can do to add to the beauty of the wood, and your eyes should be drawn to the natural beauty of the wood, not some frilly epoxy job. While the top of the table was drying, I decided to work on the side a little to get rid of some of the dead wood and reshape where a knot was coming through the side. With all the major epoxy work done, it's now time to put the slab on an even plane. This will allow it to have a surface to reference when I put it in the CNC to flatten the top. I'm only going to flatten the top and leave the bottom as curved or as natural as possible, and this will again give it more of a natural tree feel. I decided to use an extension ladder because the piece is way too large for my CNC. I can only do about 4 feet at a time. So the idea here is that we would continue to be able to slide it through the CNC using the extension ladder as a reference. This was an exciting turning point in the project. You really get to see how the wood grain is starting to come through and how the epoxy work is starting to turn out. There was still a little bit of touch up here and there, but for the most part I was very pleased with the way it came out. Here you see the bottom half of the table being milled. This is everywhere the ironwork or base of the legs is going to touch the table. Keep in mind I'm leaving a natural cup in the slab, so this is to put all the structural pieces on the same plane.